Welcome to the NBAV podcast. Welcome back to NBAV, the NBA Avenue podcast, where we will be giving you the breakdown of what is to happen this season. And there's one key that I'm going to be referencing a million times in this podcast and probably throughout the season, and that is the weak Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is so weak this year, a lot weaker than last year. There's nearly half the conference that's almost not worth talking about. Look at the bottom of the conference. You have the Washington Wizards. They're already done. Their season is over before it started. You have the Brooklyn Nets. The Detroit Pistons, bringing in a couple of veterans to go with their young guys, are not going to win very many games. You have the Hornets, who have a reason to be a little bit excited, and you have the Raptors, who are going to be the most boring team on television, and they're not going to be a seriously competitive team. Sure, they will compete for a play-in, and that's about it. And then you have the Chicago Bulls, losing DeMar DeRozan, having a Zach LaVine issue, trying to get him off the team and get something in return, and a Lonzo Ball issue, getting him back on the court and seeing how he plays, while also trying to integrate Josh Giddey into the offense and satisfy hopefully their franchise player in Kobe White. So all of those teams right there out of it. That was 6 teams we just named. Then you have the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to be a play-in team just by virtue of how poor the Eastern Conference is this year. And then you move up the ladder, you're going to have the Miami Heat. They're not going to be a great regular season team. They're going to be the same team they've been for the last several seasons. There's no reason to think they made massive improvements except for potentially the Rookie of the Year, Khalil Ware. He's a guy who could win Rookie of the Year. I think he's the best rookie if it was, that's just my personal opinion. I think he's going to be the best rookie. I don't know, based on playing time. I think he should get a lot of playing time. It's very conceivable that he could be the Rookie of the Year. That's who I would have my money on if I was a betting man. But the Heat, are going to be that same team that they were the last several seasons. Because that's who they've been. That's who Jimmy is. Jimmy was the same guy going all the way back to when he was on the Chicago Bulls and they were the 8 seed and he was playing with Wade and Rondo. They were going up against the 1 seed Boston Celtics and they won the first 2 games on the road before Rondo got injured and all of their hopes went down the toilet. But that's exactly what they were trying to do, an 8 seed going and beating a 1 seed. When they went to the NBA Finals a couple of years ago, that was what they did. They were an 8 seed beating a 1 seed. And then they managed to go all the way up and make it to an NBA Finals. But that's what they're going to try to do again this year. They're not going to turn it on during the regular season. They're going to try to do exactly that. They're going to be a very tough play-in team, and if they get the right matchup, they could potentially do some damage in the playoffs. Then, moving up the ladder even more, you're going to have a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, Joel Embiid already went and removed all of the curiosity regarding the season. Joel Embiid is barely going to play. He's not going to play any back-to-backs. He's already starting off injured. He's not going to play in too many games, and he's not going for personal accolades this year, and people are razzing on him for it. Now, I agree. I wouldn't want that from my franchise player, but if there's any year to do it, this is it. Because the conference is so weak that they are just going to be a playoff team almost automatically. If they could just get to top 6 and avoid all play-in games, that would be the best-case scenario for them, but all they're trying to do is get to the playoffs with a healthy Embiid, and this is the year to do it. So although I don't like the sentiment, he's doing what may be the best thing for him. The only problem is that if he doesn't play in that many games, how's he going to be in playing big-minute shape come the playoffs? In the playoffs, he's going to have to play multiple 7-game series, and what are the odds that he can play, a 7-gamer, a 7-gamer, a 7-gamer back-to-back without getting injured? Odds are probably pretty low, but they're going to have to do it with smoke and mirrors unless he can get himself into that shape before the playoffs. That's the goal for them. It's can Embiid make it to the playoffs healthy and also in shape? That's the question. I would say the Sixers probably going to be around the 7 seed. Then you have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're good, but they just have the obvious problem of the 2 point guards. They're clearly better with Donovan Mitchell than with Darius Garland. The big men, Jared Allen, and the other big men, they're not as good as you would like for them to be. They're not as good as you would think, although they've already been given big money. And they're also starting the season with some injuries. So let's go with a 6 seed for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then you have the Indiana Pacers. They need a healthier and more consistent Tyrese Halliburton, but they're keeping their core together. They're going to have basically the same team as last season, and that should give them a few more wins in the regular season. Let's put them into the 5 seed. Then at the 4 seed, I would say the Milwaukee Bucks. They're getting older every season, and Middleton is not even ready to start the year. They have no farm system really, and their only good addition was Gary Trent. So it's hard for me to see the Bucks with the poor defense and the aging roster, despite the fact that Damian Lillard should have a better year. It's hard for me to really see them going up to the 1, 2, or 3 seeds. Then we'll have the Magic at 3. I'm a big believer in the Orlando Magic. I am not a fan of the contracts that they signed. I don't know why they gave such a ludicrous contract to Franz Wagner, a player who I think every team is going to have some sort of version of a player like Franz, and they just had to shell out so much money. They shelled out a ton of money to Suggs, who I think is potentially more worth the contract than Franz Wagner was at the price. Not saying that I still like the contract. They keep on doing this. They will keep their guys. They'll keep everything together, and they will do well as long as they have health. They will be one of the top seeds in the East with Paolo Banchero anchoring that group. They play tough night in, night out. They play defense, so there's no reason why they shouldn't win a lot of games in the regular season. At 2, we'll go with the Knicks once again. The Knicks are a very competitive regular season team. They have some injuries right now with Precious Achiuwa, but that shows even more so what a good trade it was, or what an opportune trade it was for them to get Karl Anthony Towns, because Precious Achiuwa is not going to be playing right now. Imagine if they didn't have Towns. They would have no center. They'd be playing Jericho Sims as a starter. That would be where they would be right now. They would be playing Huck Porty as a starter, maybe. Who knows? So the Knicks really needed that Karl Anthony Towns trade. They have it. And at the very least, they should be a great regular season team. Where do the Knicks get a challenge? What's going to be the hard part of the season for them? It's going to be when they get to the playoffs if they don't have enough depth. That's really what happened to them last season. They are a great regular season team. They're very competitive. Even when they go on the West Coast, even when they face the West Coast teams, they do really well. They beat Sacramento at the end of the year last year pretty handily. The Knicks are a really tough team, and they've only gotten a little bit better. Okay, they gave up DiVincenzo, but they added Mikal Bridges. They added Karl Anthony Towns. They just need health. They need OG Anunoby to be healthy. Now, Mikal Bridges will help with that because he's not really a guy who gets injured very much. Karl Anthony Towns, for the most part, pretty healthy player as well. They need Jalen Brunson to be healthy also. The problem is if they don't have that added extra depth when it comes time for the playoffs, it's going to be tough for them to beat the one team that really is lined up to go back-to-back, and that is the Boston Celtics. Yes, Porzingis is injured. Horford is a year older, but they have great depth, and it's a super weak conference. They've done it once, and they're ready to do it again, and they're in an incredible position because it's just so weak. If they get in there as a 1 or a 2 seed and they face off against a team like Atlanta in the first round, I mean, they're just getting a free pass. Meanwhile, their depth allows them to be in a better position than teams who have more shallow rosters. You have the Knicks. They're 1 injury away from being toast. You have the Sixers with Embiid, 1 injury away from being toast. You have the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler. They're 1 injury away from being toast. Boston has several guys who are very healthy, who are the core of this team. Yes, they'd like to have Porzingis back for the playoffs healthy, but that's more so a luxury. The Celtics still have moves to be made. They can add, and they just cut Lonnie Walker. They didn't keep him on the roster, a player who every team in the league would probably like to have. That's just showing how good their team is, that they didn't even need that guy, because why would they have a guy on the roster who's never going to get any playing time? So the Celtics are certainly poised to go back-to-back. And that's really the Eastern Conference. It's going to be, in my opinion, the Celtics, Knicks, Magic at 3, the Bucks at 4, getting a little older. The Pacers moving a little bit up to 5. The Cavs at 6. The Sixers at 7. The Heat at 8. Hawks at 9. And then we'll give the Bulls or the Raptors number 10. Then you go into the Western Conference. Obviously, the Thunder have the best roster. They're in the best position. They have one of the best players in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and they have everything around them to go all the way to the finals. This is a team that's ready to win right here, right now, and they're only getting better. They have a lot of depth as well, a really tough out. Then you have the Minnesota Timberwolves lost Cat, but they already had two other centers in Gobert and Naz Reid. They play defense night in, night out, so they should win a lot of regular season games. And they're going to be a tough team to play in the playoffs with their style, their defensive style. And they're adding DiVincenzo into that. It's only going to get crazier. Then you have Dallas. We're going to give Dallas 3. They have all the pieces. All Dallas needs is to just avoid that malaise at the beginning of the season. They are slow starters. Luka does take some time to get into the season, and he gets better and better as it goes along. And at the end of last year, that's really when he got hot. It was from the All-Star break and on when they turned it on to 1,000. And they'll probably do something similar. Players tend to go along with their trends. So I would say Dallas, let's give them a 3, but don't be surprised if they have a slow start. They will pick it up as the season moves along. We'll give the Nuggets 4. I know it's a little low for them, but they get worse. They lose a player every year, and Murray moves further and further from being the guy who is able to stay healthy for multiple 7-game series. So we're going to put the Denver Nuggets down to 4. There's going to be someone on the Nuggets who's going to have a breakout just by necessity of them continuing to lose different players. Someone's going to have a very statistical breakout for that team. It could even be Russell Westbrook. Not saying that they're going to win more games because of him, but just in terms of stats, someone on that team is going to explode. Then you have the Grizzlies. Well, we have them at 5. I don't know if they're really going to be there because Ja Morant, he's going to be must-watch TV as long as he lasts, but he's not going to last too long. He never does. He's going to be reckless. They're going to be incredible games for the first week or two, and then he'll probably end up doing something that's going to jeopardize the rest of his season. Then you have the Suns at 6. The Suns could really move ahead of the Grizzlies and go to 5. The Suns got a little bit better. They have an understanding of how every game matters in the West, and hopefully that's going to push them to try a little bit harder game in, game out on defense. That's really the key. Can they get these regular season wins and get themselves into a better position for the playoffs? This is the Western Conference. This is the gauntlet that exists. It existed last year. The Suns got a taste of it. They actually managed to make it into the playoffs before losing, and they're going to have to try hard to do that same thing. Just to make it to the playoffs is going to be a tough task in the West. Then you have the Kings. They got better. The question is, how much better? Is it going to matter? Getting DeMar DeRozan, is that a move that's going to now take you up another level? DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox. They still have Sabonis. Is it enough? It feels like they're really good. It just feels like it might not be enough. Do you think the Kings are better than any of the teams we've gone through so far? I'm not really quite sure. We're going to have to see, how does DeRozan fit on that team? Is he going to be taking the shots in clutch time? We don't really know. It would seem that De'Aaron Fox is still the much better player. So is DeRozan such a moneymaker? Is he going to be such an incredible move? Is he going to really step it up to the next level? Not really sure. Then you have the Pelicans. They did some things. They brought over DeJounte Murray, but they have a lot of questions. They've had players like Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum who are not good in the playoffs, and they need health from Zion in order for them to really reach their potential. We're going to have them here in the 8th position. Then you have the Lakers. LeBron gets older. He gets more irresponsible. Like what he did in the in-season tournament last year. He really put it all out on the line, and immediately after the tournament was over and they won, they went into a skid over the next 7 games or so. So the Lakers are going to play in the season opener. They're going to be playing tonight. And if they win, it's likely going to come on the back of LeBron trying to show, hey, I'm still here and I'm still amazing. But then it's going to come at the price of them losing a couple of games after that. So it's kind of a lose-lose. If they lose the first game, they lost the first game. If they win the first game, it's probably going to mean they're going to lose some of the next few games. If the Lakers go through the first 8 games of the season and they're 4-4, I think you got to be pretty happy with that. You just want to be in position within striking distance to turn it on late in the season. And that's what I would hope to get from the Los Angeles Lakers. They really need to just turn the keys over to Austin Reeves and have him run the offense for large portions of every single game. That's their path to success. Then you have San Antonio. Now, the best attribute of the Spurs, the best attribute of Chris Paul is that he takes a below-average team and turns them into a playoff team. He's done that many times. He did that on the Hornets. He did that when he was on the Thunder. He did that. They weren't expected to be a playoff team the year that Chris Paul was there. In the young years of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, before we knew he was a franchise guy. And that's what he does. He's going to elevate this Spurs team. The question is just how much. The Spurs really don't have a lot outside of those two players, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. So, I mean, with a team with Zach Collins, Devin Vassell, like how far is that team really able to go? They should win some games just by virtue of the Paul Wembanyama duo. But, well, will they be better than the next team I'm about to mention? Will they be better than the Warriors? The question is, how much can you take away from the Warriors' core and still remain afloat? Now it's just going to be Curry and Draymond Green. Klay Thompson is gone. Yeah, they still have Andrew Wiggins, but he's been a mystery. He's been an absolute confusion. What is he? What is his deal? We don't really know. Now they got NBA players to take their spots. It's not like they're relying on guys like Ty Jerome like they did that one year. It's not like they're relying on a couple of those real random guys that they had on the team. If you go back a couple of years to that bad season where they had, where they had the chucker taking all those shots and they did very poor, but then they came back and they won. I'm referring to Jordan Poole, where they had Jordan Poole just having a showcase, circus year, and then the next season they came back and won the title. Now, how many wins are they going to get this year? It's hard to imagine. The Warriors have a very easy schedule to start the year, so you're gonna know 4 or 5 games in. If they're like 1-4, then they're probably not going to make it to the playoffs. If they start hot, then they will have a chance. But I think the Warriors, it's vital that they have a hot start, and probably they're going to need a lot from Jonathan Kuminga if this is actually going to be a team that's going to compete for a play-in spot. Then you have the Rockets. The Rockets, they're improving. They're good. Van Vliet is a steadying force for them. They have some good young players, but the conference is just too much, and it's unrealistic to expect too much from them. The Jazz are a competitive team. If you fall asleep, they will beat you. Colin Sexton brings it every single night. Larry Markkinen is the real deal. But they don't have enough talent to really do too much with it. They're still in this rebuilding phase. If you fall asleep on them, they will beat you, and that's where most of their wins are going to come from. Then you have the Clippers. They're going to be playing James Harden ball. I don't know how much Kawhi is going to play. I think Kevin Porter will have a good year, but how much is that really going to amount to in terms of victories? Not very much. And then, of course, the Trailblazers, who we don't really need to talk about. So if I had to predict, I would say the Celtics are poised to go back-to-back. I think the Knicks will be tough, but the Knicks need health. The Magic will be tough, but in the playoffs, I don't see too much from Franz Wagner. I don't see Paolo Banchero getting too much help, so I don't think that they'll really be able to go all the way. The Bucks are also a more shallow team, and they're getting older, and I don't trust the Pacers enough. The Pacers are a tough team. I don't trust them enough. I don't trust the Cavaliers until they solve the point guard issue, the 2 point guards, and I don't trust Joel Embiid or Jimmy Butler to really get there again. And then you have in the West, the Thunder, obviously. The Wolves and Mavericks will be extremely tough as well. The Nuggets, I would like to see if things go south for them. Are they going to make a move? Are they going to take a big swing and go for a guy like Zach LaVine on this team? That would be interesting. And then the Grizzlies, it's all on the back of John Morant. But then we're going to have to see with the Suns and the Kings if they improved at all from last season, and the Pelicans, if they can consolidate their pieces and really move forward. And the Lakers and Warriors, will they separate themselves, or will they kind of be where they were last season? These are the questions. It's great to be back. As always, we're your source for a great time every time. And until next time, we are out.